Today I want to talk about a very cool experience I had back in February of this year. This year I was actually able to take part in my first ever photography exhibition, which was a crazy experience because I never thought I would have the opportunity to show my work in person like that. For anyone who's new here, my name is Jeremy. I'm a Canadian photographer currently living in Tokyo with my wife, and this whole channel is about creative developments, me kind of exploring different ways I can get better in my photography and videography. And so if you're interested in kind of watching the process and me kind of struggle with how I can improve in my skills and figure out different ways of expressing myself through this medium of photography and videography, then come along, please subscribe. You know, as somebody who started off my photography journey on Instagram, I always thought I was going to be someone who only showed off my photos digitally. I just never had the opportunity to interact with anyone who had been exhibiting their work until I moved here to Tokyo, where it seemed like a lot of my peers that I respected a lot were doing cool exhibitions, and it just looked like so much fun, right? So I started kind of keeping my eye out for opportunities to do that, and then I met Adam. So Adam Benedicto is the curator of a very cool exhibition called Tokyo Streets. And when I met him, I was listening to him talk about this project of his, and he was so passionate and so excited, and you know, he really got me motivated to do something. And he kind of ballparked, he was like, hey, if you ever want to exhibit one day, you know, hit me up. And I was like, yeah, for sure. Kind of half serious, half not. But as time went on, I was like, oh, I wonder what it's like to see your photos in a physical medium, because it changes your relationship with your work a lot when it's in person, when you get to interact with people in, you know, face to face versus just through comments or hearts as a number on social media. And I was kind of curious about what that process was actually like. So very late last year, in around October or November, I reached out to Adam. I was like, hey, if you have any space in your next exhibition or one of the exhibitions in 2025, I would love to take part in it. And he said, yeah, let me just take a look at my space and I'll get back to you soon. And on the last day of the year, December 31st, he hits me up and says, hey, I got space for you in the February 2025 exhibition. Would you like to take part in it? And I said yes. So right as he sent that message, I started documenting this whole process just for my own memories, and also to kind of show what that ideating process is like as I go from choosing my photos to actually showing my photos in person. Yeah, so this is that story. So the first step after getting a handle of all the dates that I needed to, you know, keep in my mind for the entire month of January was choosing my photos. And this was a lot harder than I expected. I thought my best photos would kind of easily pop out at me and I would be able to kind of select them and just be done with it relatively quickly. But I very, very soon after realized that selecting photos is a lot harder than I expected, because within the photos that I think are my strongest, I also wanted to have a cohesive theme and a story. I wanted there to be a flow to my photos so that everything was thematically cohesive. I didn't just want an assortment of photos that didn't work with each other, whether or not that was by color or subject or feeling. I was really, really working on how I wanted that all to work together as as an exhibition. I didn't want to, oh, here, photo 1, photo 2. I wanted there to be photo 1 and then 2 and then 3, if that makes sense. And in this whole process, I'm also going through this very rigorous self-critiquing process, and I had to choose the photos I was the most proud of, but as I looked at my photos longer, I started to become less proud of them because I saw things that I wasn't as happy with. And so there's this kind of vicious negative feedback loop of me having to choose something that I'm not as happy with anymore because I'm spending so much time looking at it, but then I can't just carelessly choose a photo. So it was very, very helpful to have my wife critique my photos along with me because she's somebody I trust deeply, and she's an amazing photographer in her own right, so I always respect what she has to say. So sitting down with her was really helpful, and you know, she's one of the only people that knows me well enough that can just give me feedback without me being too like prideful about it.
Are you finding pictures? Are you just selecting pictures of just the people? Or is there a purpose? Right, so do you want to draw them in with these pictures? So I think it is really important to choose them very carefully. You shouldn't just, you know, be like you know what you do.
Okay. Yes, Elsie is the person who pushes me further than anyone else.
Yes. I know you have excellent pictures.
Yeah.
You just have to not get it over with and just choose it, but you should be.
I do really like this photo though.
And choose them very carefully.
Yes, yes.
I like that one. Yes.
This one?
This one's really good. You see the depth and like it really, like right away you zoom into it, and I think with a solo person picture, I think that is what I like a lot. Other picture, I think it just shows like everything draws your eye like right away. Whereas some other pictures, like you're not sure what this like your eye isn't automatically drawn to the subject, but this one like is very clearly. I think this is an excellent picture. Like it's just, right away I'm like drawn to his face, right? Drawn to him.
Okay. Maybe I will use this one as one of the exhibition photos too. After going over the initial pass of photos, I also had to decide on the layout of my exhibition. I was operating under the impression I would have a simple blank walls to put my photos up in whatever configuration I was thinking of, and I went with a very simple 3x3 because I didn't want the added layer of complexity that thinking of a new layout would add to the whole process. I just wanted to focus on the photos I was choosing and pretty much nothing else. But it didn't end up happening like that. Everyone, today is January 9th, and I got some news that changes a lot of the plans I had. So I was going to have 3 vertical ones, 1 vertical, horizontal, vertical, and then 3 more vertical, and they were all going to match up. But then I was told that my gallery space is actually going to be the 4 sides of a pillar that measures about 90 centimeters tall and 53 centimeters. So this will not work anymore. So I had to rethink how I was going to do this whole space. So I kind of decided on this layout. So vertical, horizontal, vertical. But this means that because there are 4 sides and 3 photos, I need to add another 3 photos and also choose 3 more horizontal photos. I have to think about how those photos will match and complement each other. So it's kind of like a gallery within a gallery. So that's kind of my challenge for now. Thankfully, I was also given the opportunity to go visit the gallery in person with some of the other photographers that Saturday. So I headed out to Shibuya to check out the space for myself.
All right, good morning everyone. It is January 11th, Saturday morning. I've just made it into Shibuya to head over to Gallery Conceal to check out the space for the first time and really get a sense of like how I can actually lay things out, because how it actually looks in person will change how I put everything together and decide on like what photos and how many photos. So this is my space behind me. It is a little smaller than I was expecting. So the original plan was going to be vertical, horizontal, and then vertical, but I found that it's way too tight, so I'm probably gonna stick with 3 horizontals, and then on the other sides, 2 verticals, top and bottom. All right, just got home from Shibuya, and it was great that I got to see the space in person, because first of all, it was really great to see some of the other photographers, and second, it helped me replan my whole orientation once again.
and get a more realistic sense of what I should do. So after having spoken to a couple of people that have exhibited before and kind of bouncing some ideas, I've now decided on this new layout. So I showed you guys the space. When you walk into the gallery, this is actually the first face that you'll see. You'll see a corner and both faces of the pillar. So I'm actually gonna have two big photos here to catch people's attention and then allow them to discover more of the photos on the back side. So these two will be the kind of the hero shots that I still have to decide, and then these ones will be the fleshing out and really solidifying my aesthetic and my theme alongside these two shots. So that's the current plan. I think it'll turn out really well. Yeah, I'm excited to do that. I didn't think I was gonna be printing anything that big, but now that I'm imagining the space and with these larger photos, I think it's gonna look really, really cool. So these are the 6 photos that I finally chose after a lot of deliberation. These two are the ones that I chose to be the big photos, printed in A3 because I thought they were the most eye-catching and also representative of the overall theme. And here are the other 4 photos that I chose to continue on the story and to continue to flesh out the theme overall. I'm really happy with the selection of work that I ended up with, and I couldn't be happier with how it turned out. I think my initial layout would be realistically pretty boring. It would have worked, but it wasn't as creative or interesting, and I'm really happy with the way that it actually ended up turning out. So the next major step in the whole process was print. This is probably the thing I was the most nervous about because I wasn't sure if any of my editing would kind of show up weirdly in printing. I just didn't know how photos would interact with the physical medium and ink and the color science behind that. And on top of that, I had to choose the paper I was going to be printing on, and there were a bunch of different options, and you know, I don't know what my photos will look like. I don't know how black the blacks will look. I don't know how bright the whites will look because my photos tend to be quite contrasty. It was really important for me to have really strong dark blacks. And thankfully, you know, Adam also, besides running and curating the Tokyo Streets exhibition, he also runs his own print business. So I went over to his place one night and we sat down and worked on it together. So I'm so thankful for his help because his expertise was invaluable. Okay, so it's January 22nd. I am doing my print test and my actual printing with Adam. Okay, so Adam is the curator and the organizer for Tokyo Streets 24, and I'm very honored to be chosen by him to exhibit for the first time with him.
So happy to be able to put you on.
Yeah.
It's nice to be working together. Sorry you don't have a larger space. I think we'll work on the space next time. But
No.
Yeah, pretty stoked to have you doing this together.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely challenging me with the space creatively,
Yes.
so I'm very thankful for that. I was a little shocked, but you know, better like to be surprised and have to be like challenged versus like getting something basic and
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And I think you've done super well with the selection. It's going to be very interesting to see how those 4 different stories sort of come together.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to share a little bit about Tokyo Streets at all?
Yeah. So Tokyo Streets is a group exhibition of street and documentary photography. We've been going for about 2 years now. It started with about 9 members and now it's grown to over 40. We're spoiled in Tokyo, you know, for having so many locations and places to be able to shoot. So I just really wanted to put that on the map in a way and have a regular show. So it's happening quarterly. Trying to make it a bit more international recently as well. So people passing through from Europe and from New York. Trying to make it a bit of a stop off for people who are coming out here to visit, to shoot, and yeah, making it a destination. It's the place to be. It's the place to be.
Yeah. So if you're a photographer and you want to exhibit in Tokyo, reach out to @Benedon. I'll put his Instagram and everything below, so it won't be hard to find.
No, definitely not. Yeah.
Okay,
we're
let's
live.
let's get these prints done.
Yeah, let's get this finished. We're almost there.
Everyone, it's January 23rd, the day after the printing, and I got all of my frames, so now I'm actually putting them into the frames themselves. Dude, these look great. I'm so stoked on them. I'm glad that this is all settled. I have all my photos chosen, the layout essentially planned, the frames and everything. Yeah, honestly, I've been feeling pretty burnt out. I've been thinking about this for like every single day, like constantly, just kind of worrying about it. And then now that everything's kind of here, settled, less kind of freaked out about it, and a little bit less obsessive over it. So I think it's kind of relaxed and wait for it to get started. I'm kind of in that mood where I'm excited for it to begin, but I'm also excited for it all to be over.
So that was pretty much it in terms of prep. I had bought some frames, I put in all the photos to the frames and to see how it all looked together. And the last thing was going to be setup. And that day I had work, so it was kind of hectic. I just remember, getting off work and then just rushing home, picking up all the stuff, biking with this huge bag of photos, hoping that it wasn't gonna get damaged, and then getting into Shibuya, and I spent the next 6 hours setting up.
Okay, so after some initial testing, all of my measurements are completely off, and the plexiglass is way too reflective, so I'm gonna remove it all. AG here helped me so much. I'm stoked to like do this with you, man.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, cool.
No, looking
All right.
forward to it.
Yeah, I'll catch you later.
Bye.
Okay, let's get back to work. Sweet. That looks pretty good. Let's see. So yeah, that's where we'll be hanging. I'm pretty stoked with this one. Okay, now to do all the other sides. I just need to make sure that these are the same height. Now that I'm actually doing this, I'm kind of happy I didn't have like that much open space, because I've seen other ways that they've had to measure it out and I would have needed so much more time. I'm happy I only need to figure out 1 and 1 and then 2 and 2 on the other side, which already for me is a little complicated, so. Okay, so I have this wall, and this wall done. Just need to finish this last one. I might put up a small table for some business cards just for people to take. I want to kind of give something away that people can remember. That's probably it. And then put up my profile picture and then my name card. All right, here's the final setup. Here's a Polaroid picture of me that Elsie took, my artist profile, and then my business cards, and then all the photos, which you've already seen before.
Then the next day, the exhibition started, and I got to hang out with so many amazing photographers, so many cool people coming through, and just people that appreciated photography. It was lovely meeting any of you who actually came through. And the whole week just kind of blurred by. I was so tired, but happy and almost like delirious in some ways. And I did end up getting sick, which kind of sucked, but that's okay. So yeah, that was the exhibition. It was such an amazing experience to be able to do this with so many other respected photographers and just being able to learn from them. It was so much fun, and I can't wait to do it again soon. But it was also a very challenging project to undergo. Not just physically, but also surprisingly emotionally. On top of what I shared about choosing the photos and going over that self-critique, it was very vulnerable in some ways to put your photos onto a wall and see people interact with it. Up until this point, I didn't really feel like an artist because I just thought I was just somebody who took cool looking images and posted them on Instagram and just sent them off into the void for whoever to kind of see quickly and then scroll on by. And for me, an artist in my mind was always somebody who could draw or put a lot of themselves into it. It's so much more easy to picture somebody painting as an artist because every part of that piece is created by them. They put those marks or those brush strokes onto a canvas. And as somebody who takes photos, it feels like a lot of it is guided by technology. And I kind of struggled with that. But it's hard not to feel like an artist when people are coming up to you and they're coming to their own conclusions about your work or a way that they're interacting with your piece that you never really thought of. So many people were telling me about, oh, I'm sensing this from this image, I'm grasping this from this part, And it was so cool to see how something I had, you know, taken was interpreted by somebody else and taking a life outside of me. And I think that was one of the most surprising experiences. I wasn't really thinking of that interaction. I didn't really imagine that interaction happening. I just kind of thought people would show up and be like, oh, hey, nice photos. I really like this one. I like your subject here, like whatever, like very technical. But then when they were speaking about like, oh, this one makes me feel a certain way, I was like, whoa. Didn't think my work would have that kind of effect. And yeah, that was a very humbling and very, very sweet experience. And yeah, it made me really wrestle with the idea of what does it mean to be an artist and to produce art. And I think a lot of people have that kind of conversation, but for me, art has now taken on this meaning of being a method of communication, of a way to express something that is hard to do in words, but rather an image, right? You know, we all have that feeling where we can only describe it like in sounds or in like gestures. It's like when you're like, oh, it was kind of like, and yeah, so I think that was one of the coolest experiences for me. I'm rambling on a little bit too much, but because of the exhibition, I now have a little bit more of an interesting background. This is one of the photos that I exhibited. This is a woman on the train platform. Very, very original title, but this is probably one of my favorite photos that I've taken. And I also had the chance to create a photo book a little later on with some of the more work, and I kind of went through this whole process of designing this thing, and I sold that at an exhibition that I did in March actually, and it was also a very cool experience. So yeah, if you ever want to talk about exhibitions or talking about, you know, art or photography, please do message me on Instagram or wherever. I would love to chat with you about it as well. But yeah, this video has gone long enough. Thank you so much for listening and coming along with this journey. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye.